Yes, we can see
Conference
the
will now
screen
be recorded.
right now.
Okay, so we will start. Okay. So yes, today we are going to see regarding how to interpret the CTG, because all other theoretical material is available to you. You can read it. We will focus on how to interpret the CTG. Okay, and we will try to interpret at least 10 to 15 CTGs, different CTGs, and we will try to solve the questions also. Okay. So as you all know, CTG, it is an electronic graphical representation of fetal heart rate, correct? So there are some prerequisites that you have to follow while doing any CTG, okay? While keeping record of any CTG. So first of all, make sure that your date and time on that CTG is properly arranged, set correctly in the monitor. Uh, Label the trace correctly with woman's name, date, and NHS number, okay? Also write the mother's pulse, maternal pulse also, okay, because that is going to differentiate between the mother's pulse, maternal pulse, and the fetal heart rate. Now, for recording purpose, you have to keep the CTG for 25 years, okay, and if possible, store them electronically. And when there is any concern regarding the baby, like if the baby has developed seizures, neonatal seizures, there is risk that there is a high risk of intrapartum hypoxia or cerebral palsy, then you have to store this trace indefinitely, okay. So this is the question which is asked very frequently. So normal trace you have to store for 25 years, and any abnormal trace or wherever there is any concern regarding the baby, you have to store the trace for indefinite time. Okay. Now other prerequisites. So whenever you are going to assess the trace, okay, so you have to assess this trace, CTG test, whenever there is continuous electronic fetal monitoring is going on, you have to assess the every hourly, okay. And if it is a concern, like if there are any problems which are seen, then you have to assess very frequently, more frequently than 1 hour. Also, you have to document the maternal assessment, okay. While when you interpret the CTG, also you have to write, or you have to make a record of maternal assessment simultaneous also. And the CTG, actually you have to treat the patient and not the CTG, okay. So depending only on the CTG, you are not going to take any decision, okay, but you have to take the maternal condition into the account, also her preferences, any risk factors, okay, and progress of the labor. So all these factors you have to take into consideration while taking action on that CTG. So the focus should remain on the mother and not on the CTG. Also remember that you have to give one-to-one support during the labor process, okay. And also you have to explain the woman and her birth partner regarding what is happening and why this fetal monitoring is going on, what are the progress in that fetal monitoring, if there are any concerns regarding the fetal monitoring, all you have to explain to the mother and her birth companion. Also you have to check the equipments. You have to see that fetal blood sampling facilities are available, because if the CTG turns to be pathological, you have to act on that, correct? So for that, fetal blood sampling should be there. If the fetal blood sampling is not there, there is no point in documenting that CTG is pathological without taking any action. In general, in the UK, usually at our places or different other places, the CTG paper speed, it may be either at 1 centimeter per minute or 3 centimeter per minute, okay. But in UK, almost all of the time, the paper speed is set at 1 centimeter per minute unless it is specified otherwise. Okay, so maximum time the CTG speed is 1 centimeter per minute. If it is otherwise, they will state there. Okay, and sensitivity display, it should be 20 beats per minute. Okay, so you have to check the machine for the time date. Paper should be freely running and available. Okay. So these are the prerequisites while doing any CTG. Now, what data you are going to record on that CTG? So basic requirements are identification data, that is patient's demographic data. That means whatever the patient's name, age, NHS numbers. Then you have to also write hourly systemic assessment of the trace while interpreting any CTG. Also documentation of FBS results. Okay, so if the CTG turns out to be pathological and you did FBS, then you have to document FBS results also along with that CTG, and also requirement and timing of repeated FBS. Okay, so if the FBS is repeated, then why it has done and what are the results, that also you have to basically document. Okay, so with this prerequisites, the CTG is always not an ideal record, correct? So what are the limitations or disadvantages of CTG? We all know that CTG is a useful uh, monitoring device that we are going to that we use for the intrapartum monitoring, but there are some limitations. That is, it is going to reduce the mobility of the patient. Sometimes there is possibility that we may act on only basis of the CTG and woman may not be the center of the care in the labor. Okay. Also, the reduced mobility and lack of support, it may affect the woman's ability to control with the labor pains. Increase interventions, variation in interpretation of CTG. So it is a very subjective, variations will be always there with CTG trace. What baseline I may feel it is 140, you may not feel the same baseline. You may take it as 125, you may take it as 130. Okay. Also, chorioamnionitis could make the interpretation unreliable, and litigation is always high. It is shown as a limitation because there are many litigation depend on these CTGs, and the only thing which is repeatedly asked in the question, so CTG is more sensitive and less specific. What do you mean by that? Is more sensitive means whenever the trace is normal, whenever the CTG is normal, that means the baby, there are more chances that the fetus will be healthy. But when the CTG is abnormal or pathological, then it is not always that the fetus will be hypoxic. Okay, so that means the CTG is more sensitive and less specific. Okay, so sensitivity is more and specificity is less for the CTG. Okay, clear? Now, what is the basic there are so many CTG claims they have been found in NHS litigation authority, and what is the most important reason for these claims is misinterpretation of CTG and followed by delay in acting on abnormal CTG. These two are the main reasons for the claims which are received by NHS. Okay, so first major cause is misinterpretation of CTG, and the second important cause is delay in acting on the abnormal CTG. So these are the two important reasons for the claims. And the surprising thing of this is only 21% of the claims that involve high risk pregnancies. So that means almost the 79% the CTG has been performed in the low risk pregnancy. That means they have done unnecessary CTGs. Okay. So while doing CTG, you have to see that whether you are doing this continuous fetal monitoring for the correct reason, whether it is indicated or not. That is also a major prerequisite. Okay. So now whenever you are interpreting the CTG, this is the recent NICE guideline 2017. And I know this three tables, these are the most difficult one to interpret, correct? So don't worry, we will try to interpret this CTG in the simplified manner. Okay, so how we can do it, and now we will see. So almost all of you must be knowing that you have to interpret the CTG in Dr. C. Bravado format. Okay, so remember, whenever you are going to interpret any CTG, you have to interpret in the Dr. C. Bravado format. Wherever you are going to answer any question on the CTG, don't look at a gross interpretation. Okay, don't do the gross interpretation, but try to fit in this format so that you can get the correct interpretation and you can solve the question. Okay, so don't ever deviate with this format. Always try to interpret the CTG in this format so that you can get the correct interpretation and then you can solve that question. Okay, so what is this Dr. C. Bravado is? So DR means determine the risk. So you have to, because always the CTG is acted with the risk factors involved. So action is not taken on the basis of CTG alone, but depending upon the risk factors also. So first thing is determine the risk. Next thing is Dr. C. Bravado is C. C is the contraction in 10 minutes. So you have to count the contractions in the 10 minutes. Third is bravado, that is BRA, that is baseline heart rate. Okay, baseline heart rate is a BRA. Then V is the variability. Then A is accelerations, D is decelerations, and finally, depending on all these parameters, you are going to make an overall impression of the CTG. So always remember that you have to interpret the CTG in this Dr. C. Bravado format. So whenever you are thinking regarding determining the risk, so which are the factors which requires continuous electronic fetal monitoring? So these are the factors. So these are divided into maternal, placental, and fetal factors. Okay. So maternal factors, this can be either acute like hypotension, okay, or hypovolemia, that is APH due to hemorrhage, APH. Then epidural or spinal anesthesia. Epidural requires always a CTG monitoring. Chronic factors like respiratory disease, any cardiac disease, any connective tissue disease. So all chronic diseases of the mother, that is diabetes, thyroid disease, history of smoking, any infection, alcohol or recreational drug use. So all these things require continuous electronic fetal monitoring. What are the placental factors? Suspicion of placental abruption, hypertonic contractions, any cord accidents, infections, chorioamnionitis, preeclampsia, and FGR. So these are the placental factors. And fetal factors, whenever you are attempting any instrumental or traumatic delivery, cord prolapse, any malpresentations, vasa previa, any fetomaternal hemorrhage, meconium stained liquor, then chronic are prematurity, infection, FGR, chronic fetomaternal hemorrhage, anemia, and congenital anomalies. So all these are the risk factors for which you are going to do the continuous electronic fetal monitoring. Okay. So overall, what in the labor or in intrapartum. So for these are the risk factors for which you are going to do the continuous fetal monitoring. In intrapartum, what you have to take into account of this risk factors is whether there is a presence of meconium, whether the oxytocin is used, what is the maternal temperature, whether there is any hyperstimulation or hemorrhage, any epidural is going on, the rate of progress of labor, and presence of scar. So these are the mothers. So this is the mnemonic mothers, and depending upon that, on these risk factors, you have to add during the intrapartum monitoring. Okay. So now we have seen regarding this determine the risk after the of the Dr. C. Bravado. We have seen till now determine the risk factors. The next is the contractions. So how you are going to see the contractions? So you have to in the trace you have to count the contractions in the 10 minutes. So what is this adequate contraction is 4 to 5 contraction per 10 minutes. So there are then now these three terminologies. One is tachysystole, one is hypertonus, and another is hyperstimulation. So what is the difference between these three? Is tachysystole means more than 5 contractions in 10 minutes, and you have to average over a 30 minutes window. So not only 10 minutes, but you have to see for 30 minutes. So tachysystole means more than 5 contractions in 10 minutes. Hypertonus means single contraction which is lasting longer than 2 minutes. And hyperstimulation means when either of these, either tachysystole or hypertonus, when it is associated with any non-reassuring fetal heart rate pattern. So whenever there is any CTG abnormality, any fetal heart abnormality is seen along with either tachysystole or hypertonus, it is called as hyperstimulation. So whenever you see any hyperstimulation in the CTG, okay, so whenever you are seeing either tachysystole or hypertonus, the first thing what you have to do is, if the oxytocin is going on or any prostaglandin is used, you have to remove the prostaglandin pessary, or you have to reduce or stop the oxytocin. Okay, if the oxytocin is not going on, so if there is any oxytocin or any prostaglandin, then what you can do is you can give tocolytic, and the tocolytic of choice here is terbutaline, and it is in the dose of 250 microgram. Either you can give it in the subcutaneous or intravenous at the dose of 10 micrograms per minute over 20 minutes. Why you are using here terbutaline is because everywhere other beta-2 mimetics are contraindicated as tocolytic, but here you are using because you are using it for single dose, and another thing is it has a rapid onset. So in the 15 minutes, it will cause reduction in uterine activity up to 87%. So only in intrapartum, the tocolytic of choice will be the terbutaline. Okay. So after seeing regarding this contraction, the next part is fetal heart rate, that you have to see what is the baseline heart rate. Okay. So baseline heart rate, how you are going to see for this baseline heart rate is you have to see a 5 to 10 minute period of the CTG. You have to exclude all accelerations and decelerations, and you have to record this heartbeat, mean heart rate you have to take, mean fetal heart rate you have to take over that 5 to 10 minutes of period, and you have to record it in the beats per minute. And normal heart rate is 110 to 160. Also, you have to see whether there is any change in the baseline heart rate. So first you have to note the beginning baseline heart rate, and then you have to see whether there is any gradual rise in the baseline or any decline in the normal baseline. Okay, so that it might be a suspicious thing. So what I'm going to do, I am dividing all these features which is given in that nice table. So we are doing this. See, all these features we are dividing into. Usually they are divided in reassuring, non-reassuring, and abnormal. So what I will advise you to remember, that you remember the reassuring part and abnormal part, so that non-reassuring will definitely come in between. Okay, and it is easy to remember. So reassuring for baseline fetal rate, it is the most easiest part, that is 110 to 160. Everyone knows that. Now abnormal part means whether it is below 100 or above 180, it becomes abnormal. Okay, and in between these two becomes non-reassuring part. So always remember reassuring thing and abnormal thing, so that the non-reassuring thing there is no need to remember. So fetal heart rate, you know the reassuring thing, always everyone knows that it is 110 to 160, and abnormal is less than 100 and more than 180. So the non-reassuring will be 100 to 109 and 161 to 180 will be non-reassuring thing. Okay, so this is regarding the baseline heart rate. Now the next part comes is the variability. So variability, how you are going to measure it? You have to analyze a 1 minute portion of the CTG. Okay, so you have to take any 1 minute portion excluding accelerations and decelerations. Okay, so any accelerations or deceleration should be excluded. You have to take a 1 minute part or portion of the CTG, and you have to assess the amplitude of change in the fetal heart rate. Okay, and you have to record it. So what is this normal and abnormal? So the reassuring, non-reassuring, and abnormal. So remember that individual feature is always classified into reassuring, non-reassuring, and abnormal. So reassuring variability, it is 5 to 25. And abnormal, remember here the two things, most easiest way to remember is 5 for 50 and 25 for 25. Okay, this is very easiest thing to remember. So 5 for 50 and 25 for 25, it becomes abnormal. So when the variability is less than 5 for more than 50 minutes, it becomes abnormal. When the variability is more than 25 for more than 25 minutes, it's become abnormal. And any sinusoidal pattern, I will come to that. Okay, what is sinusoidal? So any sinusoidal pattern, it becomes abnormal. So what is the name non-reassuring is? So when the variability is less than 5 for up to 30 to 50 minutes. Okay, so whenever you want to label the variability as non-reassuring, you have to wait for at least 30 minutes. Okay, you have to wait for at least 30 minutes to label this variability as non-reassuring. So when this variability is less than 5 for 30 minutes, 30 to 50 minutes, it becomes non-reassuring, and more than 25 for 15 to 25 minutes. Okay, so abnormal, as I told you, it is very easy. 5 for 50 and 25 for 25. And any sinusoidal pattern. Okay. So what is the sinusoidal pattern? So sinusoidal pattern is smooth undulating sine wave like baseline. And here variability is absent. Variability is absent totally. Can you see this? Okay. So there is no variability. It is just sine wave like patterns. These are oscillations. Okay. And how you are going to decide? So there are three types of sinusoidal. So it is a sinusoidal, pseudosinusoidal, and saltatory. So we will come to that one by one. So what is this true sinusoidal pattern is? The amplitude of undulation is usually 5 to 15 beats, and the frequency is 2 to 5 per minute. So here, can you see the amplitude is around 10 to 15 bits? Can you see this is the 140? So this is 130 to to 140, 145 it's going. So it is around 10 to 15 beats amplitude is there, and every minute, see, this is the square, horizontal is 1 minute. So in one square you can see either 2 to 3 oscillations. Okay, so this is a true sinusoidal pattern. So absent variability, amplitude of oscillations is 5 to 15 beats, and there are 2 to 5 oscillations per minute. Okay, and when these oscillations have an amplitude of 20 beats or more and frequency is 1 to 2, this is more suggestive of fetal hypoxia, and it is an indication for immediate delivery. So when the true sinusoidal pattern with the frequency is 1 to 2, and when the amplitude becomes around 20, it is more suggestive of fetal hypoxia. Usually sinusoidal pattern is suggestive of hypoxia only, but it is a true feature of fetal hypoxia, and you needs to do immediate delivery. So here it is fixed or flat. That means absent variability. It is oscillation. What do you mean by sine wave? Is oscillation of this wave from above and below the baseline, and there is no areas. What is the most differentiating feature? Is no areas of normal FHR variability or reactivity. Okay. So there is no area of normal variability or reactivity, as you can see. There is absent baseline absent variability, and there are two oscillations of around 10 to 15 beats. So this is the sinusoidal pattern. It is suggestive of hypoxia. Now, what is pseudo-sinusoidal pattern? So where the oscillations are less than 10, okay, and the frequency is 3 to 5 beats per minute. Okay, so oscillation 3 to 5 per minute, and these are called as pseudo-sinusoidal. So here, can you see? You can see in this 1 minute there are almost 5 oscillations per minute, and the even amplitude is also less, just hardly 5 to 10. Okay, so this is from 150 to 160. This is 150. Sorry, it is 170 to 180. This is 180 and this is 170. You can see the maximum oscillations are between 170 to 180, and frequency is around 3 to 5. Okay, so this is called a pseudo-sinusoidal pattern. And can you see the previous trace is normal? Previous trace is normal. Okay, the variability is normal, the baseline heart rate is normal. So the previous trace is normal, and suddenly it has started this pseudo-sinusoidal pattern. So it may be due to either fetal anemia or thumb sucking, and this is called as pseudo-sinusoidal, and here the variability is preserved. Okay. So this is pseudo-sinusoidal pattern, and another is saltatory pattern. So here saltatory pattern, you can see this. So what exactly this is? Baseline variability more than 25 beats per minute. It is maybe due to excessive fetal activity, and sometimes it can be a sign of acute hypoxia. So how you are going to differentiate between these two is, so you have to see the previous trace. If the previous trace is normal, you can tell it because of it is excessive fetal activity, or if the previous trace is abnormal, it can be a sign of acute hypoxia. Okay, so you can see here variability. There is no baseline. Baseline heart rate you can't determine only with this trace, and almost this variability, it is going from 80 to 180, almost 100. Okay, so this is called as saltatory pattern. So this is regarding the three sinusoidal patterns: saltatory, pseudo-sinusoidal, and sinusoidal. Okay, any doubts in this? Clear till now? So next we will go for acceleration. So next part is the in Dr. C. Bravado, we have come up with variability. So the next part is acceleration. Acceleration is the most easiest thing to identify on the CTG. So it is an increase in the fetal heart rate of at least 15 beats or more, and it should last for at least 15 seconds. These accelerations are usually occur in response to fetal movement or uterine contraction. And when accelerations are there in the CTG is said to be reactive, and it is a reassuring sign. So even if the variability is somewhat decreased, still if acceleration is present, the CTG is said to be normal. When the accelerations are absent on otherwise normal CTG, the significance is uncertain. But when there is absence of acceleration along with decrease in variability or increase in the baseline heart rate, it is more suggestive of the gradually developing hypoxia. Okay. So when there is absence of acceleration, decreased variability, and gradually increasing baseline heart rate, it is more suggestive of hypoxia. So here you can see the acceleration. These are 1, 2, and 3. These 3 are the acceleration. You can see here baseline heart rate is around 140 beats per minute, and acceleration is going up to 160 and lasting for almost 1 to 2 minutes, correct? So these are the accelerations. Now deceleration, it is the exact opposite. It is the decrease in the baseline heart rate for 15 beats, more than 15 beats per minute, lasting for more than 15 seconds. Now these decelerations are classified into 4 types. One is early deceleration, second is late deceleration, variable deceleration, and prolonged deceleration. And I know all of us are mostly scared of these decelerations, how to classify these decelerations and how to interpret these decelerations. Correct? So we will see it one by one. So these are the basically 3 types of decelerations that we have to classify. So early decelerations, these are mirror image of contraction. Can you see this occurs along with the trough of the deceleration is corresponding to the peak of the contraction. So these are known as mirror image of the contraction. Early decelerations are mirror image of the contraction. They are uniform in size, shape, and duration, and they are only seen in late first stage or second stage of labor. These are known to occur due to head compression, and early decelerations are reassuring. So if you see the early deceleration, you don't have to classify that CTG as either non-reassuring or abnormal. This is not any non-reassuring or abnormal feature. How many decelerations should be present? The early deceleration is always reassuring. Remember well. Now the next thing is variable decelerations. So variable decelerations, these are unrelated to contractions. They occur due to cord compression, and these variable decelerations, they can be either with concerning characteristics or without concerning characteristics. So we will see in the next slide what are these concerning characteristics. But right now, see here, see these are the unrelated to any contraction. This can occur after contraction, they can occur before contraction, or they can coincide with the contractions. So these are unrelated to the contractions. These are known as variable decelerations. They occur due to cord compression. Okay, and late deceleration. Late deceleration, here the most important feature is trough of these decelerations. They occur after nadir of contraction. So that means when the contraction ends, the trough of the deceleration, it corresponds to the end of the contraction. Okay. So usually this trough occurs after the end of the contraction. This is the determining feature. So this is how you are going to identify the late deceleration. So these late decelerations are caused by mostly fetal hypoxia or acidosis, and these are known to be ominous. Okay, so these are known to be ominous feature of the CTG. So am I clear how you are going to classify these decelerations, early, variable, and late? Okay. So the next thing is the variable deceleration, because we have to interpret the maximum importance is there for interpretation of CTGs for these variable decelerations, because you have to see whether it is associated with concerning characteristics or not. So what are these concerning characteristics? So here in the middle, can you see this is a pure variable deceleration? Can you see this is the shouldering? Okay, this is the shouldering. That means just a small increase in the heart rate before start of deceleration. It is called as shouldering, and also at the end. Okay, so here you can see there is loss of shouldering. There is no shouldering before the starting of deceleration. So it is a concerning characteristics. Exaggerated shouldering. Here you can see the response is more. Okay, so it is exaggerated shouldering. Delayed recovery. So what do you mean by delayed recovery? So recovery takes more than 60 seconds, more than 1 minute. Okay. So when this deceleration comes to normal pace, when it is more than 1 minute, it is called as delayed recovery. Lower baseline. So previous baseline heart rate was different. Before starting of the deceleration, baseline heart rate was different. And after the end of deceleration, either it can be a lower baseline or it can be a increased baseline. Okay, that is called as rebound tachycardia. So it can be either a lower baseline, that means change in the baseline heart rate, and late component, or we can call it as biphasic W-shaped decelerations. These are known as biphasic decelerations. So these are all concerning characteristics of variable decelerations. So which are now defined in this recent NICE guideline of CTG, what they are called concerning characteristics. So these are these 5 things. Remember well, when the delayed recovery more than 60 seconds, reduced baseline variability within the deceleration. Okay, failure of deceleration to return to baseline, any biphasic, and no shouldering. So these are the 5 characteristics which are known as concerning characteristics of variable decelerations. And here, remember one thing, in previous definition, the drops of beats was included. Like you can see in various questions that the decelerations are dropping up to 60 beats or up to 80 beats. But now in recent definition, these drops of beats is not included. Okay, remember well. So most of the books which have the questions are there according to previous guidelines. There, most of the questions are with there are variable deceleration dropping up to the 60 beats or dropping up to the 80 beats. So now this is not coming in this concerning characteristics. Okay. Then the last thing part of this variable deceleration is prolonged deceleration. So prolonged deceleration, it is described as consisting of a fetal drop in the drop in the fetal heart rate of 30 beats or more, and it should last for at least 2 minutes. Okay, so then it is called as prolonged deceleration. And according to new NICE guideline definition, when this deceleration is persists for more than 3 minutes, okay, more than 3 minutes, it is called as a prolonged deceleration. The causes of prolonged deceleration are total umbilical cord occlusion like cord prolapse, maternal hypotension, that is from either epidural or local anesthetic, uterine hypercontractility, that is hyperstimulation, and also it can occur after vaginal examination or ARM. Okay, so when you do ARM, what happens is the pressure is applied on the fetal heart rate. So it will cause this pressure on the vagal center and it will cause prolonged deceleration. So immediately after ARM, you can see this prolonged deceleration, but they get usually recovered. So now how you're going to classify this deceleration? This is the most important table. Of all this PowerPoint, this is the important thing that you have to remember. And this is the thing that you have to revise frequently, okay? Because all other things you can remember. This is the difficult part to remember. So decelerations, how you're going to classify it as reassuring is, there are no deceleration, so you know it is a reassuring feature. Any early deceleration is also a reassuring feature. And variable decelerations without any concerning characteristics, when it is for less than 90 minutes, it is also a reassuring feature. So without any concerning characteristics, if variable deceleration occurs, it is not at all a non-reassuring or abnormal feature up to 90 minutes. Okay. So normal variable deceleration, you can take it as reassuring up to 90 minutes. Now, as I told you, C for reassuring and C for abnormal features. So now go for abnormal features. So whenever you go for abnormal features, as you know, acute bradycardia or single prolonged deceleration, 3 minutes or more is always an abnormal feature. So acute bradycardia means less than 100 and it has occurred suddenly. It is known as acute bradycardia, which is persisting. Or single prolonged deceleration more than 3 minutes, it is an abnormal feature. Then late deceleration, as I already told you, it is a ominous feature. So when late decelerations, they are persisting for more than 30 minutes. When late decelerations are persisting for more than 30 minutes, this is abnormal feature or less. So when the late deceleration are less than 30 minutes, but it is associated with any maternal or fetal clinical risk factors. So when these late decelerations are associated with maternal risk factors, then also it is called as abnormal. Okay. And the most important thing what you have to remember in this abnormal feature is variable decelerations with concerning characteristics for more than 50% of contractions for 30 minutes. Okay. So when the concerning characteristics variable decelerations are there and when they are more than 50% of contractions, definitely we are going to see it with the examples, okay, afterwards. So just I'm going to explain you what exactly it is, and we are going to interpret the CTG depending on these examples also. So when these variable decelerations, when they are present for more than 50% of contractions and for 30 minutes, it becomes abnormal feature, or when it is associated with any maternal or fetal risk factors, and if they last for less than 30 minutes, it becomes abnormal feature. So when you this reassuring and abnormal, when you remember, then non-reassuring features, remember well all variable decelerations. It comes in non-reassuring. So when the normal variable decelerations for 90 minutes or more, variable deceleration with concerning characteristics less than 50%, sorry, up to 50% of contractions for 30 minutes or more. So when it is less than 50% of contraction lasting for 30 minutes, or variable deceleration with concerning characteristics for more than 50% of contraction for less than 30 minutes, and any late deceleration for less than 30 minutes. Okay, so all these are non-reassuring features. I know this is very much confusing part, but this is the thing that you have to remember and that you have to revise frequently, so that, and just before your exam also, you have to see only these things, these two things that you have to remember. Okay.
Ma'am, can I ask?
Yes.
Ma'am, that variable deceleration, 50% will be where? If it is in 50% of, if it is in, it is up to 50 and it is more than 50, no?
Yes.
So 50% will fall in which?
Is included in non-reassuring. 50 is included in non-reassuring. More than 50 becomes abnormal. Okay. 50, the 50 figure is included in non-reassuring.
Non-reassuring.
Okay. 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 Anyone, do you have any problem? Please just unmute yourself and please ask, because I'm not seeing the chat. Okay. So who wanted that? Pseudo. So pseudo, Ankita, pseudo pattern is the thing where the oscillations are more frequent. Okay. Just 1 minute, I will come to that. See, the oscillations are more frequent, 3 to 4 to 5 oscillations.
Yes, ma'am, but what's the importance of this?
It is with anemia. This is with anemia. So this may not be a normal thing. Okay, this is not the thing that you have to act urgently. Got it?
So, ma'am, both sinusoidal and pre-sinusoidal, both are associated with anemia.
No, sinusoidal is associated with
because
hypoxia. Sinusoidal is not with anemia.
Because, ma'am, there are so many recalls that sinusoidal NST is associated with, the answer is always their parvovirus. And the parvovirus is usually associated with the fetal hydrops. That's why I asked this question.
Correct. Yes, this pseudosinal, according to book and everything, pseudosinusoidal is associated with anemia. So here, basically, you have to differentiate between sinusoidal and pseudosinusoidal. Now, everywhere they are taking it as similar only. Okay, maximum time they are taking it as similar. So if they ask you, like in that question, I have seen that those recalls also, most of the this is a sinusoidal pattern is associated with anemia. So actually, it is a pseudosinusoidal pattern, and true pseudosinusoidal pattern, as I shown you, this is the true sinusoidal pattern. Okay, so this is not associated with anemia. And someone wanted this W shape. Here you can see. Yes. Yes. Who is that?
Ma'am, actually, generally we for a CTG we take a 20-minute CTG for interpretation. If something comes abnormal, then we extend for 20 more minutes. Then it becomes 40 minutes. So wherever it is mentioned 90 minutes, it means that we have to extend that CTG duration.
Yes, actually, see, usually the CTG in UK is interpreted for at least around 30 minutes. Okay, it is never, it is told that it is at 20 minutes. When you are going to do the 20-minute CTG is only for the one indication, like if an intermittent auscultation, if you find that there is some abnormality, like if you hear any deceleration or any decreased variability, if you suspect on intermittent auscultation and you started the fetal monitoring, okay, CTG you started, then you have to continue for 20 minutes. And if that becomes normal, you can again discontinue it and come to the intermittent auscultation. Otherwise, always cases, these are cases with continuous electronic fetal monitoring, correct? Otherwise, the
Okay, ma'am.
CTG you are interpreting is almost, because of always, it is a continuous electronic fetal monitoring. Okay, so there is no question in discontinuing that CTG. So you have to interpret the CTG for at least minimum 30 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Now see the who wanted that W biphasic. So see, can you see here there are two components. Sometimes it will be direct W pattern, or you can see here there are two components of these decelerations. So it is known as biphasic decelerations or W-shaped decelerations. Okay.
Ma'am, in that variable deceleration, in the non-reassuring features also, the third parameter, that is variable decelerations with any concerning characters in over 50% for less than 30 minutes. And in
Less than
abnormal,
30
it is more than
minutes.
30 minutes, is it, ma'am?
More than 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
more than 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Most of the
Okay.
time, this is the thing that you are going to, it is going to come in the question. Okay, because it is the most confusing part. Now, whenever the baseline is, you look like the baseline, if it looks like non-reassuring, that means it is between 100 to 109. But if it is associated with normal variability and there are no deceleration, then it is taken as a reassuring thing only. Okay. So if the baseline is somewhat non-reassuring, that is 100 to 109, but still if the other characteristics are satisfactory, that means variability is normal and there are no late decelerations or variable deceleration, the CTG is considered as normal only. Okay. So now till now we have seen the features of different features of the CTG, and depending upon that feature, so we have classified the features in reassuring, non-reassuring, and abnormal. Now the overall impression of the CTG, how you are going to classify the CTG, remember well. So features we classify as reassuring, non-reassuring, and abnormal, while CTG we will classify it as normal, suspicious, and pathological. Okay. So first, these two concepts you make it very much clear, because sometimes in the questions they ask, they give the CTG and they will ask whether it is a reassuring CTG, normal CTG, abnormal CTG. Okay. Non-reassuring CTG, suspicious CTG. So whenever there is a CTG, whole CTG, you have to classify it as normal, suspicious, and pathological. And when they have asked regarding any single feature, you have to classify it as reassuring, non-reassuring, and abnormal. Okay. So first you make this concept very clear, how you are going to classify the CTG and how you are going to classify the individual feature of CTG. So when you are interpreting the overall CTG, when all features are reassuring, it is called as normal CTG. When there is one non-reassuring feature, the CTG becomes suspicious. Okay, and the CTG becomes pathological if there is one abnormal feature or two non-reassuring features. So any two non-reassuring features or any one abnormal features makes the CTG pathological, and one non-reassuring features makes the CTG suspicious. Okay. So now how you are going to interpret this CTG, intrapartum CTG, and how you are going to act on this CTG. So when reviewing this CTG stress, you have to assess and document contractions and all four features. That means baseline heart rate, variability, accelerations, and decelerations. Okay. If there is a stable baseline heart rate, so there is no change in the baseline heart rate and normal variability, then continue the usual care, because the risk of fetal acidosis will be low in that CTG. If it is difficult to categorize or interpret the CTG, obtain a review by senior person. Either it can be a senior midwife or senior obstetrician. Okay. Acceleration, as I previously also told you, so if the acceleration is present, even if the variability is reduced, it is considered as a reassuring feature only. So how, if the CTG is normal, continue the CTG. So if you are doing this continuous electronic fetal monitoring for any risk factor, you have to continue this CTG. If you have started the CTG, as I told you, with any problem with intermittent auscultation, like any deceleration heart or any change in variability, like decreased variability you find out on the intermittent auscultation, then you have to continue the CTG for 20 minutes. If it becomes normal, then you can discontinue that CTG. And you have to always, whenever, whichever is the CTG, whether it is normal, pathological or suspicious, you have to talk to the woman and her birth companion regarding what is happening. Okay. Now, how you are going to manage this suspicious CTG? So for suspicious CTG, first you have to correct any underlying cause like any hypotension or hyperstimulation. You have to see. So for that, what you have to do, you have to perform a full set of maternal observation. That means pulse, temperature, respiratory rate, blood pressure, all you have to see. So maternal condition you have to take into account. You have to see for the contractions, and you have to correct the hypotension or uterine hyperstimulation if it is there. You have to check the temperature. You have to correct the temperature also. Start one or more conservative measures. So we will come to that conservative measures. What are this? Inform the obstetrician or senior midwife. Document the plan for reviewing whole clinical picture. So as I told you, do not act on only the CTG, but you have to take the whole condition into account, and always talk to the woman and her birth companion. Now, what are these conservative measures? So if you find suspicious CTG, what conservative measures you have going to undertake is first, change in the position. Okay. So either ask her to mobilize or adapt an alternative position. Don't do the CTG in supine position at all. Okay. Avoid being supine. So you can change. First conservative measure is change in the position. If the woman is hypotensive, you can give intravenous fluids. Okay. If the hypotension is there, you can give IV fluids. If there is hyperstimulation, so you can reduce the contraction frequency either by reducing or stopping oxytocin or giving the Abitalin. Okay. So these are the conservative measures. Here, important point to remember is oxygen doesn't come in the conservative measure unless the woman is in hypoxia. Okay. If the mother saturation is less, then you can start oxygen. Otherwise, there is no role of oxygen in the conservative measures. Now, how you're going to manage this pathological CTG? So, pathological CTG, first, all these things, that is, you have to obtain a review by obstetrician or senior midwife, exclude acute events. So, there are 3 acute events you all know. One is cord prolapse, another is abruption, and another is scar rupture or uterine rupture. Okay, so these are the acute events that you have to exclude. Correct any underlying cause like hypotension or hyperstimulation. Start conservative measures and talk to the woman and her birth companion. So these are the routine measures you have to take. And if after taking all these precautions also, if the CTG is still pathological, then again you have to take a review by obstetrician and offer fetal scalp stimulation. Okay, you have to do a fetal scalp stimulation. If you find acceleration with fetal scalp stimulation, continue the CTG. No need to take any additional measures. Okay, if the CTG still remains pathological after scalp stimulation also, then there are the 2 things. Either you can do fetal blood sampling or you can expedite the birth. And this is not in the sequence. That means you don't have to always do the fetal blood sampling. You have to take the clinical condition into account, whether fetal blood sampling is feasible or not. You have to see. Like if the woman is not dilated, like hardly 1 centimeter is dilated. So here fetal blood sampling is not possible, and CTG is pathological. That means you have to go for cesarean section. If the woman is fully dilated, head is in the favorable position, so there is no need to waste time in the fetal blood sampling. You can go for instrumental vaginal delivery. Okay, so you have to weigh the condition, and you can either go for fetal blood sampling or you can go for expediting the birth. Like, yes.
Can you please repeat this?
Which
Can you
one?
please
This
repeat
one?
this pathological, what to do? No, this one, when to do the FPS and when not to do.
Yes. Yeah. So see this pathological CTG. So for fetal blood sampling, remember well, the woman should be at least 3 centimeter dilated and membrane should be ruptured. Correct? For doing the fetal blood sampling, these 2 are the prerequisites. So if these prerequisites are not fulfilled, like if the woman is just hardly 1 or 2 centimeters dilated, known case of HGR. And so because such questions come, so known case of HGR 1 to 2 centimeter dilated and CTG is pathological. So now here there is, it is not possible that you will do the fetal blood sampling, correct? So here you have to go for the expediting the birth, and there is the only one thing you can do to expedite the birth is doing the cesarean section in this case. Okay, then we take another example. the woman is fully dilated. Okay, fully dilated, head is C at +2, okay, in favorable position, and you get the pathological CTG. So here, doing an instrumental delivery is the more feasible thing than doing fetal blood sampling. Am I right? Okay. So there is no
Yeah,
need to do
one
fetal blood
more
sampling.
doubt is there. Yeah,
Yeah.
if suppose the patient is fully dilated and it is
I will
all
tell
favorable for
I will tell you
instrumental
another
delivery,
example.
should we?
Asima.
Yeah,
1 minute. I will tell one more example and then you ask your question. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So then there is another example that you can see. Woman is just fully dilated, pushing for hardly half an hour. Okay. The head is at 0 station or hardly +1 station. Mal position is there. That means OT or occipital posterior position is there. So in that case, if the CTG is pathological, here still there is time, correct? So here you can go for FBS. Here you can go for FBS, and if with FBS, if you get if the skull that is pH, if it comes normal, then you can wait for 1 more hour to become the position favorable, correct? If with the contractions and if we have with our active pushing, if the position becomes favorable, then you can wait for that. So see, if the delivery is imminent, go for instrumental birth. If the delivery is not imminent, go for fetal blood sampling. Yes, now Asima, go on.
Yeah,
Your question.
correct. Yes. Thank you.
Got it?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so depending upon the how much time the woman has got, okay, for the delivery, depending on that, you have to either go for the FBS or either go for the expediting the birth. Okay, it depends upon that. Now, this is one more thing which is given in the strategy. I don't think there is no question till now on that, but still I have just included for the sake of this thing because it is given in the strategy. So there are these 4 types of hypoxia which are they have been described. So one is gradually developing hypoxia, another is long-standing hypoxia, acute hypoxia, and subacute hypoxia. So we will see one by one. So what happens in gradually developing hypoxia? So it can be due to either repeated cord compression. Okay. So like in oligohydramnios, there will be repeated cord compression and it will be gradual. The hypoxia will develop gradually. Sometimes in case of when the placental reserve is inadequate, in case of fetal growth restriction. So in that case also reduced placental perfusion can give rise to gradually developing hypoxia, which is induced. Then also same inadequate placental function and there is like you don't get adequate time, okay, in between the contractions. Like in any small abruption or chronic uteroplacental disease, the inadequate placental function, it can also give rise to gradual hypoxia. So what happens in this gradual hypoxia is there are 3 patterns which has been described. One is stress pattern, second is stress. So it evolves in these 3 patterns one by one. So first it goes in stress pattern, then stress to distress, and then distress to collapse pattern. So what is the stress pattern is? So first the CTG will be normal. So previously reactive CTG, it becomes suddenly there will be presence of deceleration without there is any change in the baseline or any reduction in the baseline variability. It is considered as stress pattern. So development of deceleration without any change in the variability or heart rate. So it is the first part of this gradually developing hypoxia. What will next occurs is when it develops the hypoxia develops gradually, there will be no acceleration. Then suddenly it will gradually start increasing in the baseline heart rate. Okay. And then followed by reduction in variability. So why it occurs is because hypoxia of autonomic nervous system. So what happens here is fetus has no capacity to increase the stroke volume and the cardiac output is increased by increased heart rate. So it is because of autonomic this thing, there will be increased heart rate, increased catecholamines, increased heart rate, and it will increase the baseline. And further hypoxia and further vasoconstriction will cause hypoxia of autonomic nervous system and which it will give rise to reduction in the variability. So first occurs presence of deceleration. It occurs in stress pattern. Then stress to distress means here there will be gradual change in the baseline heart rate along with reduction in variability. And the next thing which happens is So when there is no timely intervention or when there is no fetus can't compensate further, then it has reached to distress platform. So what happens is maximum tachycardia occurs, that is 20 to 30 beats above the baseline heart rate, and there will be marked reduction in the baseline variability, less than 2 beats per minute. So here there are chances that the fetus will be born with hypoxia and acidosis. And if this situation gets ignored, then there will be sudden drop in the fetal heart rate. So there will be bradycardia develops, and it is called as terminal bradycardia. And the period so the time taken to this from distress to collapse pattern is around it is at 20 to 60 minutes. Okay, so it takes only 20 to 60 minutes from this distress to collapse pattern, and it is called as Horn stepladder pattern. Okay, it is called as Horn stepladder pattern. Now what happens in long-standing hypoxia? As we all know, the CTG here, there will be basic thing will be variability is less than 5. Okay, variability becomes less than 5 and appearance of shallow late decelerations. Okay, so this is the long-standing hypoxia. Mostly because it occurs in long-standing fetal growth restriction. Okay, what happens here is the first there will be normal baseline heart rate, but it does not, the baby does not have capacity to increase in the baseline heart rate because it has a long-standing hypoxia, and there will be long-term oxygen deprivation which acts directly on vasomotor center, and that will cause loss of variability. Okay, also there will be reduced renal perfusion, there will be reduced liquor, and also passage of meconium. So what happens here is basically the variability is the basic feature of this long-standing hypoxia. Reduced variability or almost there will be absent variability. Okay, and then when the onset of labor occurs, so with the contraction, there will be sudden bradycardia and fetal death can occur with this chronic hypoxia pattern. Okay. So here you can see this long-standing hypoxia, there is no baseline variability. Can you see here? There is no baseline variability, and these are the deceleration. Small decelerations are there. Okay, so this is the pattern in the long-standing hypoxia. Here you can see similar pattern, but how you can differentiate between, because in the sleep, again, there will be reduced variability. As you all know, in the sleep, there will be reduced variability. And for that, we are telling to continue the CTG. And if you find there is again, the trace is becoming normal, that means it may be due to sleep pattern. Okay. Then acute hypoxia, these are the three causes that I already told you, that is abruptions, cord dehiscence, and cord prolapse. Okay, so in that case, the expedite the delivery, that is the one answer that we all know. Another causes of reversible causes of acute bradycardia are, as I told you, either epidural or spinal anesthesia, hypotension, vaginal examination after ARM, or uterine hyperstimulation. So these are the reversible causes, and usually the CTG comes to the normal if we reverse these causes. Okay. So in more than 50% of cases, there will be no cause will be identified. So how this acute hypoxia will manifest? So either it can be single prolonged deceleration, that is more than 3 minutes, prolonged deceleration, repeated prolonged decelerations, or prolonged baseline heart bradycardia. So these are the three patterns in which this acute hypoxia can manifest. So this is the CAMS, that is 3, 6, 9, and 12 rule. Okay, 3, 6, 9, 12 rule. It is this for prolonged bradycardia or acute hypoxia. So what you have to do with prolonged deceleration? Within 3 minutes. So if you see that the prolonged deceleration is there, which is lasting up to 3 minutes, first you have to take a senior review. Okay. So senior review you have to take first. With 3 minutes deceleration, you have to take a senior review within 6 minutes. So if the deceleration or this bradycardia is lasting for 6 minutes, you have to prepare the woman for urgent delivery. Either it can be instrumental delivery, or you can also try to shift this patient to the catheter. Okay. So you have to explain this woman. So within 6 minutes, you have to explain the woman and make the preparations for the immediate delivery. For 9 minutes, the patient should be ready for assisted delivery. Okay, so the patient should be ready for assisted delivery, or she should be in the catheter for the cesarean. Okay, depending upon the patient's condition. And within 12 minutes, if it is persisting, that within 12 minutes, the baby should be out. The baby should be delivered within 12 minutes. Now, what happens in each cases, if within 3 minutes, if it recovers, then you have to review that woman. You can continue with CTG. Within 6 minutes also, you have to do the same thing. If it recovers within 6 minutes, you can review the CTG trace. You can continue the CTG, take a senior opinion. With 9 minutes, you have to take the woman's preferences into the account, and you can go either for delivery or you can wait, depending upon the woman's condition. Okay. So for 3 minutes and 6 minutes, you can continue the CTG if it recovers. But if it recovers within 9 minutes, okay, then you have to decide whether you are going to deliver or you are going to continue the CTG, and depends upon the senior obstetrician decision and woman's preferences. And if it is not recovered in 9 minutes, you have to deliver the patient. Okay, deliver the woman. So clear for this 3, 6, 9, and 12 rule. So why we have to follow this rule? Because acute hypoxia pH falls at the rate of 0.0 per minute. Okay. Now, if these 3 reasons are ruled out, that is abruptions, car dehiscence, and cord prolapse, if these are ruled out, you can wait. It is acceptable and reasonable to wait if the previous CTG is normal, that is variability, and also the variability during the deceleration or bradycardia is maintained. So if the bradycardia variability is normal, you can wait. If the CTG prior to that deceleration is normal, you can wait if it recovers. But reduced variability prior to onset of bradycardia is associated with poor outcome. So you have to take all these things into the account whenever you are going to act on this prolonged deceleration. So usually when these 3 causes are not there, 90% of CTGs are recover within 6 minutes and 95%. So next 5% recover within 9 minutes. Now this
Excuse
is the
me,
thing
doctor.
that is
Can you please show us the
subacute.
schematic for
Yes.
this prolonged deceleration? Can you just show us
3,
the
6, 9,
schematic
12.
again? Yes.
This
Thank you.
one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so now this subacute hypoxia. Okay, so I will directly show you the trace so that you will come to know. So this trace, can you see here? Here you can confuse it for acceleration, but these are not acceleration. You can see here these are the deceleration which are falling up to the 80 beats per minute, and these are repeated decelerations. Okay, and can you see the time spent in normal CTG and time spent in deceleration? When you compare that, the time spent in deceleration is more than the time spent in recovery. Got it? So time spent in deceleration is much more than the time spent in delivery. So it is known as subacute hypoxia. And what happens is the baby or the fetus doesn't get time to wash off the carbon dioxide and the acid. Okay. So here again there will be fall in the pH, and it is known as subacute hypoxia. So usually this subacute hypoxia trace will be like this. Okay. And another thing what I wanted to tell you is, this is STAN analysis. You don't need to know regarding the STAN analysis. Only one thing is required. This is the thing. So what is the use of STAN? It is the pure fetal scalp sample and pure operative vaginal deliveries. This is according to the TOG article. And I think in various books there are very different answers are given, but these are the only 2 things that you have to remember. So STAN is associated with pure fetal blood sampling and pure operative vaginal deliveries, while CTG causes reduction in neonatal seizures. These are the 3 things that you should know. So now we will try to interpret few CTGs. So we have to interpret the CTGs on this Dr. C. Bravado format. Here I am giving only the CTGs. So you just skip the previous, that is DR part. Skip the doctor part, and we have to interpret the CTG. So this CTG.
Doctor?
Yeah. What is the now doctor?
Hello?
Yes.
Please explain on any CTG how to decide that this is 50% or up to 50% or over 50%.
We'll come
How
to
to
that.
decide?
We'll come to that. Contractions, no? 50%
Yes.
contractions. Yes, we will interpret
Yes.
all the CTG. We will come to know. Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
This one. Yeah. So this is the first CTG. we have to interpret on this Dr. C. Bravado. So risk factor is not mentioned here, so leave that. What is this? This thing, contraction here. So here, can you see? This is the 1 minute. Okay, so this two dark line is a 1 minute. So can you see this one and this one? The distance between these two is 10 minutes. So can you see how many contractions? Yes, there is only one contraction in 10 minutes. What is this baseline heart rate here? Baseline heart rate here, you can see it is around between 145 to 150. See, this is the 140 line. So previously this was around 140. So it is between 140 to 150 baseline heart rate, correct? So this is the C. Bravado. So then variability. Here variability, you can take 1 minute period. So you can take this 1 minute period and you can see this variability is between 140 to 150, correct? So this variability is around 10. So which is a reassuring feature. Heart rate is 140, 145. That is also a reassuring feature, correct? Acceleration, whether it is yes or not, accelerations are there here, correct? So it is also a reassuring feature. And there are no decelerations. So overall this CTG is, yes, whether it is CTG is reassuring or normal. Normal, yes. Not reassuring, it is normal. Okay. Okay. Next one. Again, this you can see these two lines is corresponds to 10 minutes. So contractions. How many contractions in 10 minutes?
4 to 5 contractions.
There are 3 contractions. You can see 3 to 4 contractions. So you can say 3 to 4. Okay. Yeah. Hey, am I audible? Because here they are showing that there is some disturbance. Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes.
Yes.
The voice is not clear. Otherwise, it's up.
Okay. So this is this contractions, 3 to 4 contractions in 10 minutes. Now, what is this baseline heart rate? This line is 120, this line is 140.
130. 130 per minute.
Yeah, here the baseline heart rate, you can say around 130. 130.
So between
This is 120,
120
this is 140. So it is around 130 here. Yeah. Then variability. It is between 10 to 15 bits.
Yes, 10
From
to 15.
125 to 140 it is variable. Okay, so the variability is around 15 bits, you can say. That is also a reassuring feature. Correct? And accelerations are present. Only you have to say whether acceleration are present or not. You don't have to count the acceleration. So accelerations are present. That is again a reassuring feature. There are no decelerations. Correct? So again, this CTG is
Normal.
yeah, it is normal. It is normal. Yeah. Now come to this CTG. Now here I will tell you, see, this is 1 minute. Okay, this horizontal scale is 1 minute. So you can say 1, 2, 3, and 1. This becomes 10 minutes. So how many contractions in 10 minutes?
Three
Again, there are
contractions.
3 contractions in 10 minutes.
3.
Yes. What is the
3 contractions.
yeah 3? Baseline heart rate. Baseline heart rate.
125.
130.
120.
No, it is 130. See, no, it is 130 because every line is corresponding to the 10 bits here. Okay,
Yes,
every line is so it is 130. It is around 130.
Yeah.
Variability.
Normal heart rate. Variability reduced.
Yeah, variability is reduced. It is
Less
hardly
than 5.
it's like accent. Also, you can tell somewhere. So variability is absent, and then there are accelerations.
No. Yes, this one.
Acceleration, you can see there is a small acceleration. You can say, or you can say because you it is not exactly. It is not. Yes, it is 15 bits. Yes, so there is one acceleration is there. There are no decelerations.
Yes.
So what is this?
Non-reassuring.
Normal.
Suspicious.
Ma'am, how to say that it lasts for 15 to
Why
25 minutes
suspicious?
like that?
You have to continue the
How long?
Ma'am,
you have to wait for at
this
least 30 minutes, no?
Non-reassuring.
variability lasting for how long, ma'am? 25 minutes or
Variability,
50 minutes like that?
you have to wait for variability for at least 30 minutes. If it is decreased variability, you have to wait for at least 30 minutes to call it as non-reassuring. Okay?
Yes.
So you have to wait for 30 minutes. So you can't call here exactly it is non-reassuring, but if it crosses this 30 minutes, then you can call it as non-reassuring and then you can call it as suspicious. But right now, as there is acceleration is there, one acceleration is there, and otherwise the CTG is normal. So you can still say this is normal CTG unless you cross the 30 minutes. Okay? Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am,
clear.
So
if
you have to wait for 30 minutes.
acceleration
Okay?
enough over
How
this
to become
throughout
the
the
CT
trip?
variability abnormal? You have to wait for at least 50 minutes. Okay? Okay, so less than
So
5
ma'am,
variability for 50 minutes, more than 50 minutes, it becomes abnormal feature. This one. So again, contractions, you can see here
1%.
1, 2, 3, 3. This is the total 10 minutes. This is 10 minutes.
So 2 contractions.
so this is a
There are
30
two
minute
contractions.
CTG, ma'am.
Yes.
This is a 30 minute CTG.
No, this is only hardly 20 minutes. This is not 20 minutes also. You can see these two black lines in between. This is 10
Only
minutes.
Okay.
10 minutes. Yeah, there is only one acceleration between the.
One minute. We have to go step by step. So first thing is, what is this norm baseline contractions? There are two
Baseline
contractions. Baseline heart
is
rate.
baselines
Baseline
around
heart rate.
140 to 170.
170.
170.
170. 170 it is, okay? But you can call somewhere it is 160, somewhere it is 170. So you can see
Yes.
between 160 to 170 baseline heart rate. So it becomes non-reassuring feature, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
This feature is non-reassuring. Now variability.
Reduced.
Variability is less than 5.
It is there.
It is less
Yes,
than 5.
variability actually somewhere it is preserved. Here it is preserved. It is between 5 to 6, okay? But here it is reduced. So you can say it is less than 5. So it is again, if it is less, it is for 30 minutes, it becomes non-reassuring feature, correct? But right now the CTG is not for 30 minutes, so we can't say it is a non-reassuring. Now there are accelerations are there or not?
No.
No.
No acceleration.
No acceleration.
Yeah. Decelerations.
Late deceleration. Late deceleration.
There is one late deceleration. Right? There is one late deceleration. And one more thing, if you want to see, you can call this is also as a late deceleration. Can you see?
Yes.
Actually, this is a zoom
Yes.
picture. That's why you are seeing like this. But you can see it is also deceleration, late deceleration. Yeah. So in 10 minutes, can you see that two decelerations, two late decelerations, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have to count for
Yes.
30 minutes and see there are two late deceleration. Fetal tachycardia is there, variability is less. So this CTG becomes
Pathological.
pathological. But for labeling anything as pathological, you have to wait for 30 minutes. Remember.
Pathological CTG.
Yeah, but for to label the CTG as pathological, you have to wait for 30 minutes. Okay?
Right.
Always you have to wait for 30 minutes on basis of 10 minutes.
Abnormal.
You can't classify it as this thing. The features, one is non-reassuring. Two features are non-reassuring and one feature is abnormal here. So actually there is no reassuring feature here. There are two non-reassuring feature and one abnormal feature. So this CTG is pathological if it is continued for 30 minutes. Okay. In exam, you usually get CTG of 30 minutes. Don't worry. Okay. They give you CTG of at least 30 minutes. Press. Okay. Yeah. This one. Contractions.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, again, this is 1, 2, 3. Yes.
3.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Dr.
ma'am,
Arish,
the previous
who was asking me the question?
previous CTG. The previous
Huh.
CTG, I just want to know what is the one abnormal feature which you told. I got the two non-reassuring features. Which
This is
abnormal feature?
late deceleration.
But
With
yeah,
all
ma'am, but the
contraction
late deceleration is
up to
still
30
not
minutes.
over the 50.
Till 30, if it is continued for 30 minutes, it is abnormal feature. Okay.
Okay, but still it is this we cannot say it is 30 minutes now, ma'am. That's why I was got confused.
Yes. Yeah. If it is continued for 30 minutes, it becomes
Okay, ma'am.
normal feature. See, you can see there are with every contraction there is deceleration. It is more than, so you were asking for 50% of contraction. So here you can see 1, 2, 3 contraction and there are 2 decelerations. Got it?
Okay.
There are 2 decelerations with 3 contractions. So it is present for more than 50% of contractions. So if it is for less than 30 minutes also, it becomes abnormal feature.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Got it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here you, whenever you want to see for more than 50% or less than 50%, you have to count the contractions and number of decelerations. Okay. We will come to that also again. There are some more CTGs like that. Yeah. Again, here 1, 2, 3. So this is the 10 minutes. How many contractions?
3%.
There are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 contractions are there. Baseline heart rate?
170.
Yeah, it is almost 165 to 170. So it is a non-reassuring feature, correct? Variability?
Less than 5.
Reduced.
Yes, variability is less than 5. Okay. No accelerations, no decelerations. Correct? So these CTG is mostly suggestive of what? Hypoxia, chronic
Pathological.
hypoxia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually, if it is continued for 30 minutes, it becomes abnormal CTG.
Oh.
Sorry, pathological CTG. 2 abnormal features, it becomes pathological CTG. Okay. This one. Now here they have given the timing. So this is 5:10, this is 5:20. So this is the 10 minutes. From here to here it is 10 minutes. So contractions are
4.
4 contractions, correct? Yes. Yeah. Baseline heart rate?
160 to 170.
Yeah, it is 160 to 170. Variability? So it is non-reassuring feature. Variability?
It's less than 5.
Yes. Variability is less than 5. Accelerations?
No acceleration.
No. No acceleration. There is no acceleration. Decelerations?
Late decelerations are present.
Variable.
Decelerations are present. Now, what are these decelerations? Whether they are late decelerations, early or variable?
Variable.
These are variable decelerations. Can you see? This is before contraction. This is in between the contraction. You can't call it as late. Okay? You can call it as late. This is again it's looking like early. So this is not related to contraction. These are variable decelerations. Okay? Variable decelerations. Now you have to see whether there is concerning characteristics are there or not. So are there any concerning characteristics?
Loss of shouldering.
Yes. Loss of shouldering is there. Variability in the
W is also
deceleration is
there.
also not there. Some decelerations are biphasic. 1 or 2 decelerations are biphasic or W-shaped. Okay. So concerning characteristics are there.
Loss of
Also
shouldering.
yeah, loss of shouldering is also there and biphasic decelerations are also there. Okay.
Yes.
So
Ma'am, how much contraction, ma'am? 50% or more than 50% contractions?
now
How to say this?
here measure the contractions now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 contractions. Decelerations are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for 11 contractions, 7
More than
deceleration.
50.
That means it is more than
Not
50.
50.
Correct? Got it? Now how you are going to count it?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So there are concerning characteristic deceleration more than 50%, loss of variability and fetal tachycardia. So this CTG is pathological.
Pathological.
Okay. So got it now? How you are going to label it? Yeah. This one I think I don't need to tell anything. This is the normal CTG,
Normal.
correct? Yeah. Variability is normal, heart rate is normal, accelerations are present. Correct? So now we'll go to the questions. So this is the first question. Type the answer in the chat box, okay? Don't tell the answer, type the answer in chat box. So 25-year-old Gravida 1 who has uncomplicated pregnancy. She is 39 weeks 1 day. She has a gush of clear fluid 5 years ago. She is contracting strongly 4 in 10. Fetus is cephalic, head 3/5 palpable, vaginal examination. Efface cervix 5 cm, head is -1 and no caput, no molding. Position not defining, clear like a draining. So how you are going to monitor this fetus? Yes. Is there any risk factor here?
No
Only
risk factor.
spontaneous rupture of membrane. So that cannot be a risk factor. There is no risk factor, so she is candidate for intermittent auscultation. Now, how you are going to auscultate in first stage? It is the for 1 minute every 15 minutes, okay, after contractions. So option is B here. Answer is B. Okay. Next one. So again, same thing. Primary gravida 25 years. Only thing here is BMI 38. 39 weeks 1 day. She had a spontaneous rupture of membrane, strong contraction. Head is 3/5 palpable. 5 centimeters dilated cervix. Station -1. No caput, no molding. Position is not defined. So how you are going to monitor the fetus here also? Yeah. Here also there is no risk factor. No need to do CTG for BMI 38. Okay. When there are no risk factors and you are going to auscultate, see if the auscultation is possible, no need to do the CTG. If the auscultation is difficult, then you have to go for continuous fetal monitoring. Okay. So answer is D. Next one. 33 weeks, 4 days. She is admitted at 11:30, found to be 3 centimeter dilated, fetal head -2. Ruptured membranes, draining clear liquor at 13:20. They're called to review the CTG at 14. Baseline is 150. Variability is 3. No accelerations. Variable decelerations more than 60 beats and lasting for more than 60 seconds. For last 35 seconds. 35 minutes occurring with every contraction. She is 5 centimeters and blood stain liquor. So how you are going to? What is your next course? So here, when you see the CTG here, she is baseline reassuring. Variability is non-reassuring, correct? Because 3 variability for 35 minutes. Then variable deceleration concerning characteristic is there. That is lasting more than 60 seconds. And they are offering for 35 minutes. So it is a pathological feature. It's an abnormal feature. So CTG is pathological here. And she is only 5 centimeter dilated. Blood stain liquor is noted. So how you are going to deliver this patient? Yeah, very good. This is a B. You are going to do category 1 cesarean section because it looks to be a abruption, correct? So you're going to do this category 1 cesarean section. Answer is B here. Next one. Labor ward specialty trainee. All you to ask to review the recurrence woman who has. Yes.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
In the previous question, they have asked the next most appropriate action.
Correct. So see here, you have to take whole picture into account. What is her gestational age? How
So
you can
even
do
for
SBSS 30.
pathological CTG, they write that first you have to do hydration, change of position, and then take for cesarean section. If we see the, we have to do. So next they have asked. So next shouldn't it be A?
Please
Next
let
most
the patient.
appropriate.
Wait. They have asked most appropriate also. Okay, that is
Next
just not
also,
next.
na? So that's why I was getting confused. That next
Correct, but
most.
she is correct. She is abruption. She is 33 weeks. Correct. So basic, you have to appropriate course is expedite the delivery. You are not going to wait for the hydration and change in position to make the CTG better. Okay. Conservative measures is not the action here. If it is not conservative measures, that is different thing. So resuscitate the mother and take her
Okay,
to
because
the
it was written next also. That's why I was wondering whether.
But you are not going to take conservative measures for this CTG. This CTG is not for conservative measures, correct?
Yeah, that is there. Yeah. Okay.
Next one, labor ward specialty trainee. You have asked to review a nulliparous woman who has been pushing for 80 minutes. She is a low risk pregnancy aiming for water birth. She had made adequate progress, found to be fully dilated 2 hours back, but pushing had been delayed until she felt the urge. She is now out of the pool. CTG is commenced. She is tired, no longer coping. She has appropriately grown fetus, no fetal head palpable abdominally, fully dilated head +1, left OT position, 1 plus caput, 1 plus molding. Liker is cleared, CTG is reassuring. Yes. What is the most appropriate management plan?
Trial in theater.
Yeah, because she is not coping, okay? Otherwise, you can still wait for some more time. Here, the keyword is she is tired and no longer coping.
But she has already crossed 2 hours. Huh?
2 hours passive stage, okay? She is 2 hours passive stage. So you can wait for 4 hours if she is coping properly. So if the progress is adequate, then you can wait for some more time. But now she is not coping well. Also, she is tired and already she is pushing for 1.5 hours. So go for trial in the theater. Answer is D only. Yes, this one.
Ma'am, in previous question, why not in labor room?
Because whenever you are going to classify this delivery,
+1.
station is +1 only. You have to do only low and outlet deliveries in the room. Mid forceps deliveries, you have to do it in the theater. Mid plus rotational deliveries, you have to do it in the theater. Okay? It is a rotational forceps and +1 only. This one. 25-year-old woman attends for induction of labor at 42 weeks. In her third pregnancy, she has previous 2 vaginal deliveries. 2 hours of after the vaginal prostaglandin, she is 2 to 3 contractions every 10 minutes. CTG is commenced because deceleration is detected on intermittent auscultation. Midwife asks you to review the CTG after 30 minutes. So now first you tell me, first we will try to interpret the CTG now here. Okay. So contractions, see this is the 10 minutes. Okay. This is total 30 minutes CTG. So how many contractions?
10 minutes, 3.
3 contractions. Okay. Yeah. Baseline heart rate.
Baseline.
It is around 140. This is 140. Baseline is 140.
140.
Yeah. Baseline is 140. Variability.
Less than
Variability is more than 5. More than 5 it is.
Yes.
See, variability is good.
Okay. Yes, yes.
Accelerations not there. There are no acceleration. Decelerations, yes.
Early,
Which
early
decelerations?
deceleration.
Early
Early
deceleration.
deceleration.
Early.
Yes,
Early
you can call it
deceleration.
as early also or sometimes. Yeah, these are early
Early.
decelerations only. Yeah, so this CTG is
Normal.
Reassuring. This is
Reassuring.
normal.
normal.
Reassuring.
You can't call it as reassuring. It is normal CTG. CTG you have to classify normal, pathological, and suspicious. So what is this? How you are going to? What is your next action?
Forgot the question.
How you are going to manage this neck? How you are going to manage this patient?
Vaginal examination 2 hours.
Why you want to do vaginal examination? Now you are going to examine every 4 hours, no? So even for induction, you have to wait for 6 hours. So continue the CTG monitoring because she is 42 weeks, correct? She is a post-dated pregnancy. Answer is F here. Continue CTG monitoring. Okay. Next one. 35-year-old primary admitted for induction of labor at 38 weeks because insulin-treated gestational diabetes, prostaglandin administered at
Okay, and
22.
previous question, why we are continuing CTG? Because of 42 weeks. Post
42
date.
weeks, post-dated. Post-dated and induced labor, correct?
Okay.
So here, she is ID for gestational diabetes, insulin treated, induction of labor at 38 weeks. At 22, Bishop was 6. At 4:30, CTG was commenced. You are asked to see her at 5. You perform a vaginal examination. Cervix is 1 centimeter with bulging membrane. Vertex is 3 centimeters above the spine. So first you have to classify the CTG. Contractions.
130.
Contractions there are 3.
1, 2,
2 to
3
3
contractions.
contractions are there. Yeah. Baseline heart rate.
3.
Yeah, 3 contractions.
130.
Baseline heart rate 130.
140.
Variability. Yes, 130. Variability.
Variability 5,
3 to
more than
20.
5.
Actually, you
More
can
than
see
20.
here it is less. No. Variability is less. It is less than 5.
Less
Can
than
you see
5.
here? Variability is less than 5 and it is maintaining for almost 30 minutes. Okay. Yes. Acceleration.
No acceleration.
Not there. Not there. Decelerations.
Variable
Yes.
deceleration.
Yeah, early decelerations, ma'am.
No, there are
Variable.
Variable
decelerations.
deceleration. Variable.
These are not related to contractions. And almost they are present with each and every contraction. Correct?
Yes.
Each and every contraction, variable deceleration
With
are there. There is
concerning
no shouldering.
characteristics.
There is no shouldering.
And
Correct?
there is decreased variability within the deceleration.
Yeah, there is reduced variability within the deceleration also. So this CTG is
Abnormal.
Pathological.
Pathological.
pathological. Decelerations are abnormal and CTG becomes pathological. With 1 centimeter dilated. So what is your next management?
Cesarean
Cesarean.
section.
Yes.
Cesarean
Delivery
section.
by
Yes.
Category
Next
1.
category 1, category 2.
1.
Not 1. It becomes category 2. Because there is no
2.
acute hypoxia, correct? So it is category 2 section.
Okay.
Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
I have to
Why
ask
not
about
fetal blood sampling, ma'am?
1
1
centimeter
centimeter
dilated. How
only.
you can
1
do?
centimeter.
How can you do PLPS? Okay.
And
And you have to
membranes
take
are
risk factors.
membranes also intact, ma'am. We can't do with membranes
Yeah,
intact.
membranes also. If you rupture membranes also, she is not dilated to perform the FBS, correct?
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask how exactly to calculate the variability, like it is 5 or 3 or 2, or how it is to be calculated.
Now you don't have to exactly calculate. You have to just see whether it is less than 5 or more than 5. Okay. Or
Okay, it is
absent, you can
just
see it is a straight line. You have to just see here, it is almost on the and that line only, correct? On that line only, there is no oscillations here. Okay, there is no change in amplitude, so you can see it is less than 5. So there is no need that you should count exactly it is 2 or it is 3. Okay.
Okay, fine, ma'am.
Yeah.
Doctor,
Yes.
when in variable deceleration, when it comes, so always it will coincide with the peak of contraction.
Variable deceleration is called variable because they are not related to contractions.
Not
Early
related to,
deceleration,
but
contractions.
when it comes like in this graph, when it comes, so this is coincide with the contraction.
No,
So,
it
but
is
in
every time
previous,
it is. See here, I will show you. Show you. See here,
because
you
in one
can see
trace we did
here
one
it
trace.
is everywhere. It is early deceleration. It is, you can see that they're just mimicking the contractions. This CTG you see, and now you see this CTG. There is no relation to the contraction. They are occurring before contraction or after contractions. Got it?
Okay.
But they are present almost with every contraction. They are not the exact mirror image of this contraction. Okay.
Excuse me, doctor.
Between the contraction, because in one question we did the variable deceleration in between the contractions, because so means they can come in between the contraction also.
Yes, they can come in between the contraction also, but whenever you have to tell more than 50% or less than 50%, so they are almost associated with contractions, almost associated with all contractions. Can you see? With each contraction, you are seeing this deceleration. Got it?
Okay. And late will come after.
After the contraction. Okay? Late will come just after the contraction. It will start with the contraction and the nadri will reach after the peak of the contraction. Okay? After the end of the contraction.
Doctor, excuse me. What does loss of shouldering indicate?
Loss of shouldering is a concerning, see, there are concerning characteristics. That means fetus is not coping well. The autonomic nervous system is not coping well. Fetal is not coping well to the hypoxia. So these are the concerning characteristics. There is no each significance of each concerning characteristics. So what does mean by loss of shouldering? What do you mean by reduced baseline? We can't tell each and every significance, but these are concerned characteristics. That means the baby is developing hypoxia. Okay?
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Excuse me,
Now
ma'am.
this, yeah.
Ma'am,
Yes.
what is this normal duration of the second stage, ma'am, in with and without epidural for the primary?
See, now actually with this new OPD guideline, what they are telling is you have to total, it is 3 hours for primary and 2 hours for multi. With new OPD guidelines. And previously they used to tell it is 4 hours with epidural.
Yes, ma'am. We should
Okay?
follow the for
With
this
epidural
coming
you can
exam.
wait for 4 hours. For
So
coming
we should
exam
follow
you
this
can follow
new
old guidelines.
old guideline, ma'am.
Yeah. For upcoming, for
Okay.
September exam you can follow old guidelines. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This one, a healthy 23-year-old woman presents at 34 weeks with fresh vaginal bleeding, constant abdominal pain, pulse 92, BP 110/62, temperature 37, 4 to 5 palpable contractions every 10 minutes. You see the woman at 0.55 and perform speculum. There is some fresh vaginal bleeding, but the cervix is long and closed. So first we have to interpret the CTG. So contraction, as you can see, there are very mild contraction, 4 to 5 contractions you can see. Okay. Then fetal heart rate is baseline heart rate. It is again here around 130. It is 130. This is 120 and this is 140. So this is around 130. Variability
Normal.
More than
More
10.
than 5.
it is around 15. 10 to
5 to 6.
5 to 10.
variability is there. Accelerations
Present.
are there.
Yes.
Correct? This one and this one. This one actually. 1 or 2 small accelerations are there. There are no decelerations. So CTG is normal.
Normal.
Correct? So next course
Normal.
of action.
What's the
Yeah.
clinical
So next course
issues
of
like
action.
abruption?
Yeah. But what is next course of action?
Cesarean. She's abruption.
Administer corticosteroids.
Yes.
Yes.
Because she is 34 weeks. So you have to give her steroids and wait for, you have to monitor the CTG and you have to see also the bleeding. Okay. Bleeding status, you can do conservative management. If bleeding doesn't settle, you can go for the next final definitive management. Next. Healthy 23-year-old woman, spontaneous labor 36 weeks.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you. Can you go back to the previous question, please?
1 minute. Yes. This one.
Yes. Thank you. So you said for this one, it's like the next step is not going to do ultrasound to cite the location of the placenta.
Right now, first management immediate will be you have to give her corticosteroids. Okay. Then the next management will depend upon regarding whether it is abruption, whether it is just unexplained AKH, or whether it is a placenta failure. But the first thing first you are going to give here is a corticosteroids. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Sorry. So this is the 23-year-old, 5 centimeter, 36 weeks. Okay. CTG is 538. So this is almost 30 minutes CTG. You can see contractions how many?
1, 2, 3, 4.
What 3?
4 to 5 contractions are also somewhere there. Okay. 4 to 5 contractions are there. Baseline heart rate. This is 140 and this is 160. This is around 150.
150.
140 to 150 baseline heart rate is there. Correct? Yeah. Variability is good. Correct? Yeah. Deceleration, accelerations are not there. Decelerations,
Early.
they are variable decelerations actually. No, these are somewhere variable.
Like early, no, ma'am. Almost like early also.
Early.
Here you can
Yes,
see,
almost
here you
early.
can see this is variable also. Somewhere it is variable. Okay, but only thing here is here this is early. 1 or 2 deceleration, here it is early, somewhere it is variable. So, but they
Where
are
is
normal
variable?
decelerations. There is no, yes.
Ma'am, can you
So
please
there
tell
is
which
no,
one?
actually not, this one is variable. This one, okay. This one is
Early, ma'am.
early. This one is again early. This one is early. This one you can't tell you exactly. So
Variable.
this one again it looks like variable. Okay? So these are somewhere variable, somewhere early, but still their characteristics are maintained. So these are normal variable decelerations only. So what you are going to do here? This CTG is a normal CTG, correct?
No intervention indicated.
Yeah, here there is no intervention required. Okay. Next. Which one of the following is not required to be documented on electronic fetal heart rate monitoring press?
Maternal BMI.
Yeah, correct. BMI is not required. Okay. Next one. 23-year-old with low risk pregnancy, spontaneous labor at 39 weeks, intermittent auscultation defies fetal heart deceleration, and CTG is commenced. CTG is normal. What you will do next?
CTG after 30 minutes in the first stage.
E.
Actually, it is E. Because if it is normal, you should wait for 20 minutes.
Go back for intermittent auscultation, ma'am.
Intermittent auscultation.
Go back for intermittent auscultation. So it is E. Okay, discontinue the CTG after 20 minutes.
Is it not after 30 minutes, ma'am?
No. For this thing, it is 20 minutes only. For intermittent auscultation, if you find any abnormality in intermittent auscultation, continue the CTG for 20 minutes. If it is normal, go back to the intermittent auscultation. Next one.
Okay.
36-year-old woman, spontaneous labor, 41 weeks. CTG started because of confirmed delay in first stage of labor and use of oxytocin at 6 centimeter dilatation. She is having 5 to 6 contractions. CTG is baseline 145, variability more than 5. There are variable deceleration, dropping from baseline by 60 to 80 bit and taking less than 60 seconds to recover. The decelerations have been occurring with every contractions for 15 minutes. First, classify this CTG. Heart rate is normal. Contractions are more, correct?
We have to
There are 5 to
reduce
6 contractions. Yeah. It is a reduce or stop oxytocin. Answer is C, because it is a suspicious CTG. Okay. Actually, you can't call it a suspicious also, because there is still it is taking less than 60 seconds to recover. Variable decelerations are there, but they are taking less than 60 seconds to recover. Drop off baseline is not required. Okay, not required now to classify it. With old definition, they used to classify it as a concerning characteristics. But still, because there is a hyperstimulation, you have to reduce or stop oxytocin. Okay, answer is C. Fetal blood sampling should be offered in non-reassuring variable deceleration. So when you are going to do the fetal blood sampling for this, it is B. With non-reassuring, you have to first start conservative measures, and if still it becomes pathological, then you are going to do the fetal blood sampling. Okay, so answer is B here. Okay. So with any suspicious CTG, first you are going to offer conservative measures, and again if it becomes pathological, then you are going to do fetal blood sampling. So this finishes our CTG. So I hope it will be useful for you all. Okay. Thank you all of you for attending. Bye. I will post this recording on this YouTube also. Okay, and in the group.
Ma'am, when will you post
Thank you,
it?
Dr. Mridula.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you very much,
excellent
ma'am.
presentation.
Yes. Yeah.
Ma'am, when will you post it?
I think actually it will take time to this thing complete cover. By tomorrow morning I will post it. Okay.
Thank you so much for this class.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Bye. Good night.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. YouTube channel. It is a MRCOG preparation. MRCOG preparation. I will send the link in group also. Okay.